Thank you very much, Caroline Bird. At the start of the show, I took gentle Mickey out of prose writers, and it is true they get very jealous of poets because we've got such a lot of white space to play with at the edge of our lines, and all they've got are margins. But some of my favourite writers are prose writers. John Cheever, the great American short story writer, in the introduction to his collected stories, he writes about a time in New York, and he says, a time when everyone wore a hat and everything was lit by a river light. And I've always liked that phrase, and it strikes me that Michael Symmons Roberts, in his book Mancunia, everything is lit in this book by a Manchester light, which means that it's kind of glimpsed through rain for a start. But is Med Manchester, I think when we write about places, we should make them available for myth. And that's what Michael's done in this wonderful book. He's made Manchester a place that's available for myth, that can be there, that can stand alongside the other places, the other cities, the other civilizations that have been made available to myth. It's full of the odd jobs that somebody might do in a place that's available for myth, like the master of lighting small details or the superintendent of public spectacles. And there's a poem in here called Tightrope, and there's a couplet in there that goes, east to west, like a hand-drawn line, like a fine-nibbed scratch on a painted scene. And that's what Michael does in this book. He makes Manchester available for myth, and he writes about it with a fine-nibbed scratch on a painted scene so that the place becomes the poem, I think. Michael.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here and in such fine company. This is called Barfly. Why must the dead sing to us all night, crooning through countless speakers for their impossible desires and regrets? It's not just their voices. They come complete with ghost orchestras. And though I know in truth they are colossal in their silence, it's hard not to feel pestered by their songs. Who are the dead? Asks a barfly balanced on my glass. Is that phrase not as empty as the lovers or the lost? I try to swat him away, but his countless eyes are locked on mine, and he has urgent messages for me. Our forebears, says the fly, speak through music and repeat each song until we heed their warnings. But we are such poor listeners, caught up in the detail of our work, the mysteries of money, futures, that we talk over these siren voices even as they try to save us. No sooner has he spoken than the fly drops dead into my scotch between a pair of icebergs. I pluck him from the amber ocean, place him on a coaster to dry out, and he is intricate, delicate, so sweetly made, as if cut from coal and utterly at peace. There's a strand of poems, a sort of thread that goes through this book, which is to do with the way that cities can become, well, in fact, any human community can become both a utopia and a dystopia. And I was doing some work during the writing of this book on Thomas More's Utopia, and it kind of got under my skin. As you probably know, it's a thought experiment, More's Utopia, in which he starts with the principles that might make a perfect society work, and then gradually, following its own internal logic, he has you at the stage where you would run out of it screaming. And I took as the start of this poem a line from Utopia, which translates as, "Doors which yield to a touch of the hand permit anyone to enter. There are no locks on any doors in utopia. So that's the epigraph to this poem. And it's called, What's Yours is Mine. It was our game to drive at night into their city, scan the streets, choose a house at random, stroll in mid-evening as the householders were finishing, say, a birthday dinner. We watched them look up, terrified but mute. We picked lamb off their plates, emptied their glasses, then ran upstairs, threw open drawers, tried on jackets, fingered through their journals, pocketed the odd keepsake, scarf, set of car keys, half-read book, a piece of underwear for shame. We tried to get a rise from them by breakage, a cabinet of crystal cups, statuettes of local gods, but they were patient in their sad masks. Such acquiescence, you knew they saw you straight, and even so would give you everything. Our only rule, we never touched them. Save one time, I saw a blue heart-shaped soap clutched in a woman's hand, and something in her would not give it up to me for all the world. I have it somewhere. Let me find it. Again, during the making of this book, there seemed to be a growing sense that political times were changing, not just in Britain, but around the world, that we were being taken over by something and we didn't quite know what it was or what to do about it. This line came into my head that becomes the first line and becomes a repeated line through this poem. But the title of the poem is Terra Nullius, which is nobody's land. There is a victory parade moving through the city, in dress-down garb to look like us, in its cavalcade of mid-price family sedans, because the limos, black-lacquered like miso bowls, are stabled away, the tunics on racks in warehouses, because it is too soon for the trappings of the future. There is a victory parade moving through the city, but no one stops to look. No one checks in mid-stride. Even daytime drinkers in their sop keep staring down into the glass where one bright bulb above the bar is circling on the surface. There is a victory parade moving through the city, a motorcade with armored glass. Our liberators wave to us. They offer eye contact to all they pass, but no one takes them up on it. And this, let it be said, is not some velvet revolution. There is a victory parade moving through the city. We do not fear them. Their propaganda is crude, their speech is dull, but there are shirts to wash. The coffee will not drink itself, nor will the beds self-make. Potatoes peel. We carry on. There is a victory parade moving through the city. The motorcade is tailed by streets of languid troops, a marching band, batons twirling, flags the lot. I cannot be doing with any of it. I scan the headlines, fold my paper, drain the cup, go home and pack as much as I can bear. It's a poem called Mancunia Miserere, and as many of you will know, a miserere is traditionally a kind of liturgical musical psalm setting, and a kind of outpouring of I suppose, regret and despair. So as I was going through this book and contemplating this imagined, not quite Manchester, and it was raining, yes, it was, on this particular day, and so this Mancunian Miserere started to form. As I walk west on Cross Street, have mercy on me, O God. For the cold of my fingers, the clam of my palms, for the knots I have tied in my tongue and for their undoing, for my constancy of inattention, for my inner tension and its ills, for the fact that the undersides of leaves, my mother told me, are blown visible before a storm, but I forget to look. For the unlearned law that rain, when it runs unhindered in a gutter, will still trouble itself into opacity. For the cities, rich, exotic, gifted of my days, that I have sacked, abandoned, given up for the price of a light, my hands cupped in case you tried to blow it out, for thinking you would waste your breath on me, for fearing you may not, for the coin jar I saved for a deluge, for the wide berth I gave that man cocoon asleep on the steps of a new closed bank where once I queued to find my balance. For the stars I thank, for the losses I adjust, for the cost have mercy. Let the seas hold themselves, let the streets dry out and flood instead the cambers, ventricles, capillaries of me. Prize my teeth apart, O God, that I might learn to praise. Seems strangely counterintuitive to be reading a Mancunia Miserere on the very day that Manchester City's unbeaten record is brought to an end. Mancunia Jubilate, I haven't written that yet. I'm going to finish with the last poem in the book, and it's called Manumission. And Manumission, as well as being the name of a nightclub in Manchester for many years, is a word that means freedom, liberation from slavery, and has also become, in some quarters, associated with the resurrection, an idea of liberation through resurrection. So this, at the end, becomes a kind of resurrection of the city of Mancunia. Manumission. Not a slow dissolution of salt into water, a folding down of dead leaves into earth, a curl and ink out smoke of letters in a fire, a rise and gone of breath in open air, but an awakening in skin so real it hurts, a stretch and flex and flinch under a sun that burns, a rain that makes us blink and spit in clothes like none we knew, but all a perfect fit. And our city rebuilt brick by brick, so hard it cast the old place as a ghost. So we tread the streets to trace the ones we love and find them all, remade but recognizable. Take them in our arms, kiss them, hold them fast as if we fear to lose them all again, but never will, which is the scandal of it, the refusal to deliver a denouement.
Thank you very much to Michael Symmons Roberts, and thanks to all our poets tonight. I think you'll agree, a wonderful evening of reading. The poets are all going to be downstairs very shortly, sitting behind desks like people who'd like to talk to you about poetry, but more than that, they'd like to sign the books that you've bought. So please, let's have one more round of applause for our 10 wonderful poets tonight. Oh, yes.